Welcome to the Facing Our Demons podcast.
We aim to educate
And entertain.
while talking all things demonology and demonolatry.
Come for the demons, stay for the dad jokes.
This podcast is not intended for children or the easily offended.
Although no offense is ever intended.
So pull up a chair and join us as we spend a few minutes
Facing our demons. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Facing Our Demons podcast. We're up to episode 5. Look at us go.
Woo.
Cinco de podcasto. All over it. All right, well, I guess we're just going to jump right in. I don't have any extra funny stuff to say, so here comes the drum roll. How about some news? We're going to change it every week until we decide what to rename it.
Oh, that's right. We'll settle on something. Well, man, got some good stuff for you today, Jay.
You fucking better.
No, I know, right?
I drove all the way over here.
Ready to start letting me down now. So, they found out earlier, this year really, academic work happens over very long time spans, and it's not like normal news. It just happens and then gets to us when it does. But they sorted out through checking out the strontium levels in the teeth of human remains at the former Hyksos capital of Avaris in the Delta Nile.
Remind me, Hyksos was the word for...
a group of foreigners that controlled what they call Lower Egypt, which is the northern half of ancient Egypt.
I knew it was a people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So the Hyksos also very closely tied to Canaan and Hebrews, and it's very possible that the story of the captivity in Egypt is actually related to the story of the Hyksos uprising against the Egyptian rulers that lasted for a couple hundred years. Okay,
well, I don't want to segue you too hard. You were talking about something there.
It's true, yeah. So they figured out that the invasion, which had been the theory in academics up until now, that the Hyksos came from Canaan and invaded northern Egypt and took over and ruled for a while and then were kicked out. But through studying the strontium levels in these human remains at their old capital city, they found that they were actually born elsewhere and came to, not born within and took over. And also that there wasn't an invasion. The levels that point out where a human being is born and raised and goes through their life in the remains of the teeth indicated that the Hyksos were not invading. They were just uprising. It wasn't an organized external effort, as the theory had gone for a long time in Egyptology.
See what you started to drop there?
I did, yeah. I got really quiet. We're trying to sort out... So I have a tendency to be incredibly quiet, and my friend Jay here has a tendency to project incredibly well. And although his mouth is some 4 feet from the microphone, my mouth is some 12 inches from it, and I am so naturally quiet that my levels just drop straight off the map.
Got powerful pipes, baby.
I know, right?
I don't know why I'm Telly Savalas all of a sudden.
So there's a little
it's
bit
the
of
Players Club, baby.
Some of the sound engineering notes we're trying to overcome for y'all interested in that. But yeah, it looks like the story of the Exodus and the Egyptian situation in that period of history is still evolving in our understanding today. So it's the news.
How about some news or what stuff and things? Is that our only news item this week?
No, I got one more for you, actually. They found a 3,000-year-old Canaanite temple to Baal and Resheph in a city buried about 40 kilometers south of Jerusalem. They haven't been finding a lot of Canaanite sites, so it's huge news when one of them does wind up happening.
You say buried, I'm assuming by sand.
Yes, by sand and the elements. And there was another city, Lachish is the name of the city from the Old Testament. Tel Lachish is the mound that indicates that there used to be a city there that they're digging inside of, like we talked about Tel Dan in an earlier episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Dan with his nameplate.
Yeah. Dan. So, Lakesh here.
It keeps making me want to think of quiche.
Yeah.
I've never had quiche.
Yeah.
I'm not even really sure what it is.
It's delicious. Is it like quinoa? Is that?
I honestly don't know. But anyway.
Some kind of very hearty, old school grain, perhaps.
Those are the two... Wait, does quiche start with Q?
I think so.
I was going to say, I only know of two foods that start with Q. Quiche and quinoa.
Yeah.
Or quinoa.
Yeah. As you will.
As you will.
Yeah.
All right, anyway.
Okay, so in this city where they found this old school temple, they found that it's set out like most Canaanite temples, which had an open area in the middle with unhewn stone that was standing in probably for deities. So you'd have this stone someone found out in the desert was like, you know what, that really reminds me of Baal. And they drag it back to the temple, and that was the Baal stone. That's how that worked. So this is what a Canaanite temple looks like, and I'm really fascinated by this for the temple building I'm currently engaged in. There's like a few different ways I've been trying to think about what the United Temple of Demonology would look like.
You mean for our eventual nice, like, multi-acre commune of tiny homes and temples?
Shit, man.
That we were talking about?
2 acres in the woods. Like, I don't care. It doesn't have to be a lot. Just something that we can grow from.
I'm going to say we're going to need 8 square to fit all the homes.
You know.
And a communal swimming pool.
It's definitely got to have that swimming pool. No, I feel you. But this temple, the old example of Canaanite temples, really fascinate me architecturally speaking for the religious architecture. And also the Mithraic cults. This is a different thing from thousands of years later in Rome. There was a mystery cult that would find a cave and set up a Mithraeum inside the cave where they would go and they would worship these sacred mysteries, kind of like Masons, how they have their mysteries and initiations and whatnot. This was an initiatory mystery cult.
I've toyed with the idea of trying to become a Mason at some point, just to find out if there really is any super secret shit, or if they're just a bunch of dudes in leather aprons going, "Hey, buddy, you want a beer?"
Well, it's that.
I'd be fine with either.
Yeah, either's good. Either's good. I just want to know, right?
I'm just saying.
It's good curiosity, Jay.
And for such a secret society, I've noticed so many of those Masonic symbols on the back of cars and stuff. It's like, if it's that secret, why would you advertise that you read
everywhere, right?
Yeah. The little G with the compass and the...
Oh. So, the other great thing, getting off the sacred architecture, and the symbols reminded me, the earliest form of the Hebrew letter S was found in Canaanite in Tel Lakesh when they did these excavations here recently. So that pushes back the Hebrew language, or the Proto-Hebrew Canaanite language, much closer to cuneiform and other written languages. So it's kind of...
Have we managed to work the word cuneiform into every episode so far, or is it just
we'll
4
have
out
to
of
go
5?
back and check, but it's a lot of them, yeah. So the cool thing here is there's a new theory. It used to be that the Phoenicians were named the Phoenicians because they came up with the phonetic system of letters. Right?
Yeah, so, phonetic alphabet.
Yeah, and the Greeks borrowed from that, and then the Romans borrowed from them, and now we have our alphabet today, right? Turns out that the process started before the Phoenicians, who were an offshoot of the Canaanite society that came before them at about the same time that the Hebrews established themselves as another offshoot of this society. And you can think of other little groups, maybe not so well historically attested, but the Phoenicians used to think were the beginning and end of the letter system we know as the alphabet today. Turns out that goes back a step further into the Canaanites. But yeah, so there it is, the beginning of letters, you know.
The beginning of letters. Right on. Okay, I'm sorry.
But yeah, that's what, yeah. So Baal and Reshep, old school Canaanite deities, the Hebrew letter S, all kinds of goodness.
You see the Hebrew letter S. Now, obviously, this is an auditory format. How does it differ?
Okay.
Like, visually. Like, is it more snaky?
There's actually a different name for it, and I'm pulling up the intel on that right now. Here we go. So, Samek. S-A-M-E-K-H. The first known use of the letter Samek, which also appears in the Hebrew alphabet as a version of the English S sound. Yeah. So, good stuff there.
Okay, right on. Mm-hmm. Well, is that some news?
That's some news.
And pause for that. All right. Well, we came at you last week with a new segment that we are going to dive right back into this week. The rules are loose here. Nothing fast and hard. Well, nothing fast anyway. There's some hardness. I might edit that.
Hard-hitting news.
We're past the news. It was just
hard-hitting.
Now
whatever.
it's all just hard. Just rock hard.
Well, we'll work on that this episode here.
All right, so just in case I decide to cut that. All right, so that was the news. All right, so that was the news. Very good. We introduced a segment last week we called Walking the Paths, where we discuss slightly more in depth than just a pass over a specific path of demonolatry or a related subject. And as I tend to do, I'm going to pass it off. Take it away, Beej.
What's up, Jay?
What's up?
Oh, man, we're
just
good
now
stuff.
what's upping. We're like 12 minutes into the episode here.
Yeah. What's up?
What?
The old Budweiser commercial.
That's exactly what just came to my mind. Did you ever see the Japanese parody?
No, but...
Oh, wasabi!
I did see that. Oh, that's good. So, here we go, Jay. I just got done reading 2 books this week. In the span of a very short time, just absolutely flew through both of these. One of them is The Priestess and Pearls by Georgia Van Ralta. And the other one is Mara, which is the Journal of the Temple of Our Lady of the Abyss, which is...
was that the one with the toothy vag on the cover you just tried to get me to look at?
That was Mara that I just passed your way, yeah.
You ever heard of that movie Teeth?
I have heard of that movie, Teeth.
I've never watched it, and I'm never gonna.
Yeah, so visceral horror, right? So this has been an ongoing interest of mine since I found out that there was a couple building a temple to more or less Babylon from the Book of Revelations. Just the general feminine divine. And it's been wildly interesting to me. So Aleister Crowley wrote about this topic when he invented the Gnostic Mass, which was basically the first version of non-Christian Mass that I can think of to point back to in history. It's the occult taking hold of what had been a Catholic tradition and building their own system on top of it. The problem when Aleister Crowley confronts issues of feminism is that he's doing it from an extremely masculine place and point of view. And even when he's interacting with these topics of feminine divinity, he's still doing it as the all-conquering Snake Lord and not as someone who is reaching out to the divine and the feminine. Which gives you this weird kind of disconnect when you're reading it, that, oh, cool, I like how this is being brought up, but then, that doesn't sound exactly right. And it goes a lot deeper than this, and I know you haven't read, have you ever read Aleister Crowley? Here I am assuming.
If I have, I don't recall.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it's outside of the realm of something that I would have read, but it would have been back in that phase, which was like 20-something years ago.
Yeah. So
I know Mr. Crowley.
Oh yeah,
what you got in your hand?
Anyway,
Yeah.
so
Much love, Ozzy.
acapella aside,
Acapella, Ozzy Osbourne.
the temple.
Somebody throw me a bat. I'm hungry for a bat head.
Yeah, can you imagine that going over in the age of COVID-19? Anyway.
Well, wasn't it originally thought that it came from a bat at some?
Yeah, that was real
And
popular.
since then, now it's an engineered disease and
Yeah.
blah blah and stuff. And
Oh gosh,
you know what? We are not a COVID-19 podcast.
No, our source
We
of
are
awareness.
certainly not social distancing. We got one mic and we're sitting across from it.
Actually, there is a good crossover now that you brought this up and want to hang on to an additional couple of minutes of footage. So the first ritual that the United Temple of Demonolatry put together on its own for its members was a prayer to the demons Beej and Marbas. Beej Marbas. Marbas is a demon connected to healing and plagues. So we prayed to Marbas to assist humanity with the COVID virus that was starting to go nuts in February in Italy is what first drew our attention to the task. And,
Okay, now something like that, yeah, I'll be able to keep with some of the other two. I might take chunks out though.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, but there is, COVID-19 was one of the first things the temple actually turned its entire focus to, outside of itself at least.
Well, according to the numbers, we need to get more temple people.
But yeah, so we've been.
Did you hear that, listeners? We need you. You gotta donate to our Patreon so that we can pray harder.
There's a cake song called "Building a Religion" that is just so great.
Is it based off of "Losing My Religion" by REM?
Oh no, it's a totally own thing. So how does that work? We are building a religion. We are making a brand. We're the only ones to turn to when your castles turn to sand. Take a bite of this apple. Forget the rest of it, but it's so great. They're giving away with these.
Take a bite of this apple and join us in our song, and don't forget to donate to our Patreon.
Yeah, but they were more focused on these pendant keychains. That's what they were giving away in the cake song. Yeah.
Oh, is it a cake song?
Oh yeah, cake.
I remember
Building
when
a
cake was
religion.
cool.
Oh no, man, cake is always cool.
Yes, okay, fine, fair enough. I remember when they were like just coming out.
Big.
I remember
Yeah.
when I had their first album that had the pig on it or whatever. That was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fashion Nugget was later. I don't think it had the. Anyway, cake's great. Everyone loves cake.
Welcome to our music podcast.
Yep, cakeisgreat.com. Yeah.
Welcome to our confectionery podcast, cakeisgreat.com.
So we're covering a lot of topics here today. We're really branching out. But the Temple of Our Lady of the Abyss. So
wow. Sorry.
I
forgot that's where we were.
We warned our listeners what was happening here, Jay. They knew.
Episode 1, I did. I said, be prepared for derailment.
Yep.
And those of you hearing the final version of this don't even know how much I've had to cut out just to get to this point.
Oh, man, so much. So, this group is doing some really good work. And I hadn't really confronted fully the idea of the feminine divine. So, Aleister Crowley and the feminine. He tried. From his place in time, he did what he could to bring some kind of attention to the theory. But compared to where we are today, much, much better could have been done to work the feminine back into these esoteric groups of occult magic. Right? It didn't happen at the time. But now, there's the Temple of Our Lady of the Abyss, and they are looking into what Crowley did and what others have done, and they are putting together methods not of magic, not of interacting with Babylon so that she gives you a nice shiny car. They are interacting with the feminine divine purely as a form of worship, as connecting individually and growing through their devotions to the divine feminine in all of these various forms. And now, one thing that
I'd still be down with a shiny new car.
Well, I mean, the shiny new car is always nice. I absolutely agree. But even better than that is a shiny new understanding. And that's kind of what these people are putting together, Jay. No joke.
Wow. I am so cheap now in light of that statement. I mean, I was making a joke, but I mean,
it's some big stuff.
You laid it down there, brother.
This shiny new understanding is glorious. So
all of a sudden I'm envisioning the whole world holding hands around the equator. Da, 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 da.
I actually, as soon as I got done reading these two books, I was talking to my wife and I said, for some reason I had always approached feminist issues and topics from my point as a man, looking at them as this pretty girl in a sunny dress in a meadow with flowers, and you get this really soft and delicate and beautiful image of femininity from this point of view, but you're not getting the whole of it, and I didn't realize that until I read this and said,
well, that's because the girl in the sundress in the field of flowers was not holding a doll.
That adds some depth to the picture.
You didn't fully stereotype it.
I didn't
properly.
Yeah, right. So there's many more layers of masculine, gender-specific stereotyping of the feminine I could throw in there. You are absolutely right. So there's like,
I am Mrs. Nesbit.
There is horror and there is visceral realness. There is a darkness to the feminine divine as much as there is this beautiful sundress light. And I don't know why my toxic masculinity upbringing didn't provide me with the tools to really think this through. You don't have to
convince a man with 3 daughters and 5 sisters that girls have a dark side.
You see,
there's something beyond the daisies.
There's
to be feared. Here there be dragons.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Absolutely.
I know.
And I don't know what it feels dumb, like staring out that little ignorance inside of me now to really think that through. And I love my wife.
Well, in fairness, at least you were being ignorant on the happy side.
Yeah, I guess that's a cuter ignorance than.
Well, I mean,
I guess what you get out of an incel.
You weren't demonizing femininity. You might have been overly
pedestaling, placing it on a pedestal.
Yeah.
No, and you're right. It's not something.
So if anything, the women of the world should thank you.
No.
If you're here with us on episode 5 and don't realize when I'm joking yet, I'm sorry.
That's me that never realizes when a joke is happening.
Not ever, but
80-90%. Anyway, so this entire series of reading that I've done, the work that the Temple of Our Lady of the Abyss is doing is amazing. So Mara, the journal with the art and all the goodness I tried to hand you earlier, that 100% of the proceeds from that go to Lost and Found, which is an organization for homeless LGBT youth in Atlanta.
I thought it might have been for shoes that were left behind in the gym.
Nope. Actually helping out the people that are really hard cast aside these days. So, what else could you support that's as good as that? I mean, I'm sure there's a number of other really good things you can support, but this temple...
Beej just totally like charity smacked. Like, my charity's better than your charity. My charity's better than yours.
It's
Support
not mine.
My charity because your charity sucks. My charity's better than yours.
It's not my charity, but man, I am wildly impressed by the good they're doing.
Okay, but the charity I support is better than the charity you support. It doesn't do the thing.
I'm not trying to say that they're the best charity out there. But the fact that they're doing this good work for the feminine divine...
the charity now. Okay. God, I'm being an asshole on this.
Man, I am not getting enough slack here. Yeah, they're doing good things.
No, I know. I know you're being positive and I'm being an a-hole, but I mean,
Charity's a weird thing. It's not an easy task. Like, I jumped in when I created or co-founded the temple, thinking, man, we're going to do charity and we're going to do interfaith outreach and we're going to create an inclusive, wholesome environment for demonolatrists of all genders and persuasions, someplace they can call home and reach out to for support. Not a place that controls them, but,
Oddly enough, interesting point here, and I'm, obviously I've been joking, of course, I want to support anybody who's helping anybody.
Absolutely.
But as far as an intellectual exercise and exploration of charity and its ups and downs, oddly enough, one of the best examples I've ever come across, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords.
Really?
It's like any other RPG, you make decisions and this and that, but it actually really goes into the actual benefits of lending aid or withholding aid. No, obviously in this day and age, give aid, give stuff, be good, help. But as an exercise, like I said, intellectually, like there's one point you land on the I think it's Nar Shaddaa, I could be wrong, whatever. Mm-hmm. Point is you run into the situation where somebody's like, hey, can you lend a few bucks or whatever. I think it's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But now me, I tend to play good guy. Yeah, sure, I've got it. Hey, have this. Yeah. But then one of your own party members calls into question your decision either way, whether you do or don't.
Okay.
And so it kind of comes down to like, okay, well, now you have given him, it's kind of like give a man a fish, whatever.
Feed him for a day, teach a man to fish.
Yeah, and I'm oversimplifying it because it really, they go into depth. But it's like, hey, here's this, and now he's just going to be conditioned to whatever and steal and not learn things, or you could have made him fight for his meal or whatever he wanted, and that would have been in the game, that would have been the dark side choice to not lend aid. However, in the long run, he may have ended up as a better being
if he'd have learned to fight for his meal.
Right. So it's an interesting thing, and I bring it up because I'm a geek. I'm a Star Wars geek. It's fun, and I find it interesting when entertainment media, especially video games, mm-hmm. can actually evoke thought and question your own philosophy about things.
Absolutely. That is an excellent point, and it gets to a lot of the complexities that I was trying to get to, and the idea of running charity or providing any kind of charity.
Right, and I think that was the underlining point was that obviously anybody who thinks about it for more than half a second realizes there is a gray area. I just thought it was super cool that it came back to my mind that in a video game format, something that, now as the generations go forward, they become more mainstream. Video games are not questioned the way they used to be. They are kind of more accepted as an art form now and blah, blah, blah. But as we were growing up, they were questioned, they were demonized, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess my point being that some of the greatest life lessons, without necessarily a definitive point, or at least propping up important questions and prodding your brain to think.
That is absolutely the narrative genius of video games and film and books and like all human expression is definitely so subtly nuanced and genius that it is worth reading again and again and again and again, or thinking about or experiencing. So
and again, while I will say that I would call myself a gamer. Mm-hmm. Most people who call themselves gamers these days probably wouldn't really think of me when I'm very casual, whatever. But I have traditionally been, a gamer. And I guess my point, in addition to my last point, was just simply that I find it so interesting that some of the major thought points and some of the major philosophical debates that I've had to have with myself were impetus, that's not a word, but were triggered through experiences that I had while playing video games, while wasting my life and ruining my brain, and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I remember, yeah.
Good writing is good writing, and good presentation and good art is good art. And again, it's one more thing that, like I said, is these days becoming more accepted. Like most other things, the world is slowly waking up and realizing that you can't black and white a medium.
The arena of ideas is larger.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. So, and not to get too far off the Temple of Our Lady of the Abyss, which we're going to circle back to again.
No, I have abandoned it at this point. Now I just want welcome to the Facing Our Video Games podcast. No, I'm sorry.
I promise I'll drag us around to the point. You give me long enough, I'll get us back there.
I am well aware.
So, Mech Warrior Online. Jay and I, our friendship actually started over tabletop war games way back in the day. Well, not
you know what?
Started,
Hang on. I gotta veto that because.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was not into tabletop war games until I became friends with you. So that could not have been the common ground.
It's true.
I think we were both slightly social outcast on the bus that we rode because we lived in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Now, Now, beyond that, yes, we totally got into it. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So, I was from extremely young into this game called BattleTech, which was originally made by the FASA Corporation, even more originally called Battle Droids. All of that superfluous. This game is, an 1.5-inch tall plastic or pewter robot figures.
Yeah, we rocked straight pewter back in the day. There was none of this plastic shit.
We rocked lead back in the day. Moving on.
Whatever it was, I glued little metal pieces together and painted them bitches.
It's true. Yep.
Oh, I wish I could have painted them like I did my Warhammers, though.
Oh, man. Yeah, later in life we got a lot better at that. But this game, BattleTech, spawned all kinds of different stuff. In the mid-'90s, there was a cartoon show on television. There were toys and Toys R Us you could buy. There was the tabletop war game. There were PC games. I mean, the franchise was everywhere for a little bit.
I remember very, very well. There was a demo. Now, so you people don't know much about demos these days. They still exist, but not like they used to. In the old days, you would buy magazines just for the demo CD. Anyway, my point being, the Mech Warrior 2 demo. Full-on simulation, first-person cockpit view, whatever. That was all we had for so long. And the cool thing about it was it would play track 3 of any CD you had in your CD-ROM drive. So for months and months and whatever, I'd be hanging out over Beej's and we'd be playing some Mech Warrior 2 demo to Jesus Freak
by DC Talk.
By DC Talk.
1995.
I am blowing up tanks. And what will people think when they see that I'm a Jesus? What will people do when they find out it's...
Oh, man, yeah, it's weird in context.
And Beej isn't a Jesus freak, but apparently he owned the DC Talks. Maybe he was at one point.
That was before I left my Baptist upbringing behind and ventured out into the occult at 16. So, yeah, I was still a big old Jesus freak listening to DC Talk.
I don't remember in our early friendship that ever being a thing. I don't remember ever us talking religion or anything like that.
See, I was really interested in it, but I was embarrassed to talk about it because I had already started running into logical paradoxes. And
you mean using your brain and realizing that the shit that I was taught that doesn't match this shit means that it might actually not be true? And even though I believe in it super hard, it's true anyway?
Yep.
Yeah.
So even though I was never a Jehovah's Witness, the idea of showing up on someone's doorstep and arguing with them about metaphysical reality was something I couldn't have done. That might be slightly my fault.
Hell, one time you showed up at my window and tried to wake me up, and that was a bad experience.
No, man, when you're young, you gotta sleep past 9 a.m., and that's how it works, and anybody knocking on a window can get fucked, and that's how that works.
I did perform a perfect snap punch, though, because it was a double-paned window.
And you only broke the inner pane. That was pretty impressive.
Bruce Lee would have been
I, however, thought people were shooting at me standing outside your house, so I got really...
Don't fuck with me when I'm not awake, especially literally not awake.
Really close to the shrubs.
Never mind before my coffee.
Man, I have never been so low to the ground and inside a shrub in my life. And then, I gave that about 15 minutes, and then I, ninja snuck in full daylight out of your yard. Walked the mile back home.
Welcome to the history of Jay and Beej. Circa 19... what the fuck?
Crap. So here's the 10-minute divergence purpose. MechWarrior Online's a game that happens today.
Right.
In BattleTech.
Yes, it does. I've played.
And for about 10 years before now, and although they never really got the full-on MechWarrior experience they promised from the beta
I thought it would be
days.
so cool playing with my throttle and my flight stick like I'm in an actual mech.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I have spent 20 years doing this with WASD
Yep.
and a mouse.
Yep.
I can't.
You learn too young. Yep.
Ugh.
So, MechWarrior Online had a number of really good charity moments, even though their contributions to the lore and wholesomeness of the franchise have been questionable at best. But there was a young fan of the game who played a lot and loved the crap out of MechWarrior Online and had terminal cancer, as I remember. Really got into it and then died tragically from some childhood cancer. And the MechWarrior Online community, the developers put together a special mech that you could purchase that had, this special extra goodness in it that the player really loved, this type of mech.
You ever heard of R2KT?
No.
There was a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 5. Huge Star Wars fan.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of the same thing. Had a terminal illness, ended up passing away. But before she did, the community at large, or Lucas, I don't remember exactly. But basically, R2KT is the R2D2 droid, but where all his blue is, there's pink. And it was named after her, R2KT. Katie.
I'll be damned.
And as my middle daughter's name is Katie, of course. And being a Star Wars fan.
Heart-rending moment there.
Take that to, yeah.
So look, even for mass media and things well outside of normal charity influences, the mech that they put together, all of the proceeds that people paid for that special mech went straight into charity fighting the cancer that took that person's life. So, I mean, you can look even inside the entertainment world outside of religion and all these other big things and find some good moments for charity, even in the midst of all these nasty for-profit endeavors we could argue about for 100 years and invoke Marx and a dozen other names.
Well, unfortunately, what it all comes down to, at least especially in the U.S., but I think largely over the world, is it's all about money. And anybody that tells you different is lying to you.
And to a certain extent, I'd say you're right, but I would also say that we are in a very backwards-looking country on this entire topic, and Europe as a whole.
I say that as a broad statement about the world itself, overall, how it operates. Yes, there are great causes, there are very caring people, there are caring groups that do really, really good stuff. The unfortunate thing is, my point, is that on the overall, at the top, superseding everything else, unfortunately, is, can we make money on it?
Yeah, and while a lot of traditional investment opportunities are going to pass people by, the more good work that charity does, the more hard thinking and innovative ideas they put forth to assist the communities that they service, the better the whole thing gets. And maybe it still does make enough of a buck to support itself and the communities that it's involved in. And that's, the ultimate goal of charity.
Well, as we've discussed before, slowly, ever so slowly, the world is waking up.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to believe that it is inevitable. I don't know the timeline. But eventually, as more and more of our generations grow up being more accepting, more understanding, more this and that, and less blah, 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 and having suffered the consequences of what came before.
The Temple of Our Lady of the Abyss, a demonic path we consider in the United Temple of Demonolatry, concerned with the sacred feminine, with Babylon, with Atharat, with Katesh, with all the embodiments of femininity in, old school pagan divinity.
And whores. Sorry.
It covers every angle. And it's weird, once again, I didn't realize the depth of what it is to be feminine until I really sat back and thought about some of these things. And it's been a real eye-opener, and it's been glorious. TemplusAbyssi.com. TemplusAbyssi.com is the website of the Temple of Our Lady of the Abyss, based out of or near Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, if I may just take just a moment, I feel the need to interject. Dear listeners, Jay here.
Mm-hmm.
I made a whores joke.
Uh-huh.
Here's one thing you need to understand about me is my mouth has little filter if anything that's going to come out of it might get a laugh. It does not necessarily reflect my personal beliefs, political, sexual, or otherwise. I'm just a silly bastard. So just know that I love you, especially the cheap whores. Oh, God.
You make a good sit-in for a silly audience. Like, it's a decent gap.
And that's kind of my job, but sometimes I feel like people are going to take me wrong. Look, if you knew me, you would know I love everybody, everything. I'm totally cool, totally accepting. I've got LGBTQ daughters. But the point is I don't judge anybody based on anything, but my mouth will make the joke if it comes to mind, if it's funny at the time. And a lot of funny things are not politically correct.
This is true, the Andrew Dice Clay line. Here we sit.
Well, I was going to go for more of a Ralphie May.
I'd give you George Carlin, too. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. But that's my point. You know, at the end, just please understand, and don't at me or whatever, and you're of this or that. Trust me, whatever you want to at me and say I'm of this or that, I'm not.
I've videotaped this man's actual stand-up comedy gigs. More than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm funny as fuck, but...
It is a good point to be made.
Yeah.
We're definitely fans of all the everyones and as inclusive as you can possibly describe.
Yeah, so please understand that if I make a joke that is politically incorrect or genderly whatever, it is exactly that. It is just a joke. It is made within the context of what we're talking about for a laugh, and that is it. It is no deeper than that.
Absolutely. If you can't laugh at these things, what are you doing here? No, I heard a better quote. A religion that can't laugh at itself is a cult. And we're not doing the cult here. We're doing the occult here. So we're cooler than all that.
Yeah, we're throwing the O right at the front.
Oh,
because
big O.
O face.
Yep.
And things. And right now I'm making a gesture with my left hand that looks like I'm jerking a dude off.
Yeah.
I'm really just trying to emphasize an O.
Yep.
But try doing that without looking like you're ski poling some dude.
Oh, no, yeah, it just can't be done. The lucky man. Anyway.
We've probably gone a little too far on this, but I felt the need to point it out because I don't ever want anybody to take me wrong.
No.
You know?
And, in this day and age, there's still a lot of, there's a lot more acceptance for LGBTQ plus issues, but it bears saying loudly by anyone that's any kind of an ally. We're here for y'all.
Hell, I bought my daughters at ages 14 and 13 a pansexual and bisexual flag to hang in their room.
That's awesome.
And talk to them about this stuff. And, you
got to be open and loving. And
my middle daughter on any given day is either Katie or Kyle, whatever the fuck she wants.
That's awesome.
And that's why, growing up I called her Katie Bear. Now she's K-Bear. It covers both.
It does. It's well played. That's the kind of progressive thinking.
So I am super supportive. So, like I said, if it comes out of my mouth, I'm just trying to get a laugh.
Yeah.
Understand that there is no actual malice behind it in any way, shape, or form.
And this is, once again, for y'all's benefit, the listener. And if there's something that we're constantly getting on that really rubs y'all the wrong way, we beg you to be honest and communicate with us about this.
Yeah, we want to be super communicative. I think I actually got that out without slurring too hard. Communicative with our listeners. So please hit us up, facingourdemons@gmail. Obviously, demons with an A. At FODPod on Twitter.
Yep.
Please talk to us because nothing bad can come from communication other than further understanding, which is not bad. I said other than, but I didn't mean it like that. But further understanding, and plus, hey, give us suggestions, things you want to hear about. Again, we've talked about this before. We want this to be a super community-driven podcast, as well as we can.
Absolutely. For instance, I pride myself on trying to know all this factual information, and I've noticed in the editing process of going back through the episodes we've already done, I get a lot of factual information wrong. I've called the wrong names out. I've said things absolutely incorrectly 100%, multiple times in this podcast.
Well, I'll take maybe 12% of the blame for that, just for bringing hooch. But we're also having fun, as we've said before. Beej is my best friend, has been since I was fucking 14 years old. The only friend I have left from any former chapter of life, whatever. So while we do want to, get a good message across and have a good time doing this podcast, it's also our hangout time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to catch a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And this is just a little behind the curtain stuff, that in the last couple of minutes we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
Just at the end of the day, again, we're here to educate and entertain.
So yeah, that's the Temple of Our Lady of the Abyss.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
About time for the Demon of the Week.
Demon of the Week! I just wanted to fuck it up just for fun.
Oh man, that was nice. I liked it.
Well, I do what I can. I'm just trying to increase my screen time. I feel like I should have more exposure in this podcast.
You really need those credits. All right, Jay. So this week is the last of my patron and matron demons.
Oh yeah, you had 5, and we've reached episode 5, and that was what we were going to cover. And the first, to start with, yeah.
Just for ease of what I can talk about, right? So
the lazy path, got it.
The
left-handed path.
All of the above. So Na'amah is actually a Hebrew word for pleasant, or a type of beautiful. So she comes up a few times.
Are you sure it's not Hebrew for a petulant child? Na'amah. Sorry.
Na'amah.
Okay, I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry.
So Na'amah is not incredibly well known, and of all the patron and matron demons I have, she was the hardest to find some kind of sigil for. So there are what's called... Well, first off, let me back up. We've talked about the maiden being Lilith and the crone being Atherat. The maiden is actually Lilith, or Na'amah, blah. So with the maiden, the mother, and the crone in the demonic hierarchy kind of format that I've got going, we're talking today about the glorious, beautiful, pre-childbirth maiden of my divine feminine triarchy.
Oh, so the one I would have hit on in high school.
Absolutely, yeah. The one before, the middle to end of college, however that worked out, Yeah. So, Na'amah hasn't had a whole lot written about her. They're what's called 4 sacred angels of prostitution in Jewish mystical thinking, mysticism. They're known as Lilith, Na'amah, Agrat Bat Mahalet, and Elispeth. These are the 4 sacred angels of prostitution. I can tell you almost nothing about Agrat and Elispeth.
I was going to say, can you tell me anything about gaining their favor? Because
sounds like a good term.
Daddy's right? Just a little lonely.
We are both cis male. And yeah, that's definitely. So the stories go that Na'amah was either a daughter or a close friend of Lilith. And there's several different interpretations of their actual relationship.
Or if Lilith's a millennial mother, they're both.
These open days, right? So
be a parent, not a peer. I'm just saying.
Na'amah has her own thing going very much. So at one point, she fell in love with Azazel, and in some myths, her sister Ishtar rejected Simjaza, so Na'amah had a relationship with both Azazel and Simjaza, which from the Book of Enoch, they're basically the 2 biggest names in fallen angels.
Well, if you're gonna, rock it,
yep,
why not?
And it's not so much that it's like Na'amah's a kind of a representative of sexual autonomy and this kind of
sexual agency and being in charge of your own sexuality. It's not dictated by a husband or any other laws. It's you do you, and you do who you will do.
Absolutely. It's
cool.
The freedom of choice.
I am all for
consent,
that.
right? So it's when we're talking about the divine feminine, this is the kind of the whore. And as a cis male, I shudder to get into a bunch of these concepts and phrases because they can be taken really easily in the wrong way.
Well, this is just where once again I go, dear listeners,
BJ isn't an ass.
BJ's a giant douche.
Watch out.
So I've got my own Patreon. You can send it. No.
Oh no.
No, just a gentle reminder. And if anybody has listened to this point, I would hope that at some point we have disclaimed enough that they would know that while the terminology and the vocabulary and language itself may fail us at times to be as PC as we might want to be, we are all love and no judgment here. So, Beej, please, as best you can, and whatever words you have, say what you got to say, and just know that they know you love them.
It's true. Yeah.
I mean, you can even tell them. You could say it.
I know.
Just lean up to the mic a little bit and go, I love you, babies.
I love y'all.
See? Boom. Boom, 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 boom.
Sorted.
All
right.
Okay.
So then. Where do you go from there, right? An easy transition into some
Dear
intellectual digression.
I have beaten Beej into a submission of words. He's got none left.
So, look, I am personally speaking, we could go way off the rails here and how I feel about things and my unique mental chemistry and what's going on inside my head like 90% of every day.
Well, we can do the Beej's Psych Review podcast if you want. I don't think necessarily now is the time.
Probably not.
But we can do a side project maybe in the future.
So that is something I'm pretty passionate about.
And fairly so, and I don't mean to demean it. Beej, I need you to know that despite the failure of linguistics and the vocab, that I love you and I don't judge you.
Well, I thank you. Church lady it up there?
Oh no, if I were church lady it, I would be judging you so hard.
Oh, that's right. I forgot how that Saturday Night
I wonder where all that comes from. Satan!
Oh man, we have got to do a guest special with that. That's something.
Is Dana Carvey still alive?
Oh, I hope so.
Dude, we get a couple episodes out of that. We can do Garth too.
Oh man. I'm looking forward, anyway, back onto the topic. So.
Makes me feel kind of funny. Like when I used to climb the ropes in gym class. All right, yeah, okay.
And so, I love the lovely ladies. I love my wife. And Na'ama kind of represents this portion of the feminine idea that really works for me. Not so much the using of the feminine body, but the freeness and wildness of a consensual feminine spirit.
Well, as long as it works for you, white man. I'm sorry. I had to make the joke after the huge disclaimer.
Oh, yeah. No, it's good to go in there.
I understand where you're going, and I would love to believe that the listeners do, too. All 12 of them.
We love each and every one of y'all. Thanks for listening.
That's right. Bring your friends.
That's right.
Contribute to the Patreon.
When it exists.
Send us money.
Listening's good. Just listen. Yeah.
No, in all honesty, just listening is fantastic. It's so great that anybody's listening.
Oh man! So, in honor of Na'ama, I'm really glad that I got to put at least some portion of her out there, as very not well known as she is. There's a little bit more to kind of get her idea out there. But yeah, so that's our demon of the week for our 5th week, Na'ama, Ave Na'ama. And that's it. Looks like we've come to the end of episode 5 here.
Is this episode 5? It is episode 5.
It is.
Yeah, I said it before. Cinco de podcasto, I think I said earlier.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then it is just incumbent upon me to say thank you, everyone, so much for listening. And some of the greatest things you can do for us, if you're enjoying what you're listening to, is to tell a friend, pass it on, share, like, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. All those things really do really help, and we so appreciate you. So until next time, remember. Stand up there,